Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. And thank you all very much also for coming. How nice to be with you. You play the harmonium, yes? Around the other way. Well, let me just sing Jai Radha Madhava. If I could have your pair of cartons, please. Okay. Well, someone with very small fingers. No, look, you've got bigger fingers. Yes, well, it is the last day, the last evening now of the month of Kartik in our lunar calendar. And, well, the whole month is so special. I think all of you, or the great majority at least, you're well aware of that. But it's also, perhaps, I would imagine, some of you, however many, would be aware that tomorrow is the first day of the month of Katyayani. It's another very important pastime of the Lord, described in a whole chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So from one wonderful festival into another. Anyway, let us just sing Jai Radha Madhava just to start. Jai, excuse me. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhare Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachare Yamunatira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Vishvad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Status Samad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Iskcon's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Segahas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasani Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamkund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Shri Radha Damodar Ki. Shri Yashoda Damodar Ki. Kartik Vrata Ki. Go Premanande. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories to the Simul devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So first some words about concluding the month of Kartik. Today is the Purnima, it's the full moon day of this month, and we, in terms of the events in our calendar, like the appearance day of the Lord and of the great devotees, we follow the lunar calendar and not the solar calendar, which is the general calendar followed, at least in the Western world. So tonight is the full moon, and the end of the lunar month, very auspicious month of Kartik, also known as the month of Damodar, and it's of course all revolving around and focused on one particular pastime of Lord Krishna with Mother Yashoda, which I'm sure you all know very well, how Krishna was being naughty and he broke some milk pots, butter pots, and made a mess, and therefore Mother Yashoda decided to discipline him by tying him up, not using violence or something, just sort of having an outburst at him, screaming at him, that sort of thing. Not like that, but something not really aggressive, but something which would get the message, make the message clear to Krishna that you shouldn't be a naughty boy. It is not good for you to be naughty. So she decided to restrict him for a little while, restrict his movement by tying him up. This actually happened on the Diwali day. Yes, Diwali day, there's three main incidents, pastimes: the return of Lord Ram, the Krishna's killing of Narak Asura, and this Damodar Leela. They all took place on the Diwali day, which is sort of in the middle, more or less, somewhere in the middle of the month of Kartik. And during the month of Kartik, it is recommended, I was just reading actually, three short paragraphs Srila Prabhupada has written in Nectar of Devotion regarding how devotees should perform some special type of service to the Lord during this month of Kartik, and to do something special, not just your regular Krishna conscious activities, but something extra and something better, really better, making a special effort during this month. This is called Kartik Vrata. Vrata means vow. So a vow for the month. And that vow, you can choose your own vow and do something a little out of the ordinary, a little extra, something a little extra special for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And if you do that, you get some special mercy, some extra special, not just special. You do some special activity, but the mercy you get is extra special. Yes, it's really something extraordinary. Everything is magnified, at least everything positive and nice, devotional activity. It's all magnified. The results are all magnified during the month of Kartik, because it's not just some sort of ceremonial, ritualistic consideration, or, just because. It's something very specific that during this month, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, of course, he is the Supreme Person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is still a person like us on a much greater scale, but still he's a person with many of the same types of feelings. So during this month of Kartik, Krishna, that the benefit that we get from doing something special, something extra like that for his pleasure, the benefit we get is very great by his mercy, as a very specific personal interaction with us. He gives us some special mercy. As Srila Prabhupada gave the example, I'm sure many of you have heard, that just as a shopkeeper, a businessman, someone who has a shop, every now and then the shopkeeper has a sale. The so-called Black Friday is coming up, isn't it? Okay, anyway. So, but the point really in principle is that shopkeepers sometimes have sales. And when they have a sale, you can get the usual things, but you can get them cheaper. So, Srila Prabhupada said, Kartik means Krishna is having a sale. Srila Prabhupada said that. And for the shopkeeper, there's no law that at a certain date for so many days you must have a sale and reduce your prices by X percentage, something like that. There's no law, there's no rule. It's just up to you. It's just up to the shopkeeper. So, therefore, Kartik is, as Prabhupada said, Kartik means Krishna's having sale. That for doing even the same activities, but especially if you do something extra or better, then you get extra special mercy. In fact, sometimes it's said many times more. Many times. So therefore it's a very regular sort of common practice, you could say, amongst devotees during this month to choose some type of devotional activity like chanting on the beads, chanting some extra rounds, something like that. That's, not unusual to find devotees who decide that, right, for this month of Kartik, I will do an extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, something along those lines. Or in some cases, I will try to read more of our literatures every day. These types of things. In Durban, I don't know if I should even mention this, but don't mention it when you go to Durban. Jai Sachinandan Prabhu took a vow some number of years ago, like at least 10, that every day without fail during the month of Kartik, he would have a feast. And we heard he fulfilled his vow. Well, it's a devotional activity. It's not bad. Yeah. So anyway, the thing is, today's the last day and it's almost finished. It's 7:30 already. If you haven't done something extra, you got a few hours. Try and slip something in. But, you could always plan for next year. It will come, after all. Yeah, bear it in mind, because it's nice to do something like that. It's nice. And oftentimes you feel the benefit. Like in Vrindavan, we just came from Vrindavan on Sunday. Quite a number of devotees take the vow to do the Vrindavan town parikrama every day for the month. And, it's 9 kilometers or so. It's not very far, but, it's definitely something. And they do that. And, I know those of you who've been with me when we were at Govardhan Hill and we went around and we stopped for a while at Uddhavakund. Perhaps a few of you might remember. And there was an elderly devotee there, Giriraj Sharma, who was the chief priest. He actually just passed away in the last year or so. But he told us that his mother was not able or had not had a child, but really wanted to. So she took a special vow. Now just get this, if you know what going around Govardhan Hill is like, 23 or so kilometers. She took a special vow to do Govardhan parikrama 3 times a day for the month in order to have a child. And it worked, it seems. So, but anyway, that's a big effort. Now you're talking about what? 70 kilometers barefoot every day for a month. So anyway, devotees do this sort of thing. And next year, you can make a strategy. Yeah, and it'll be good for you. So, but now it's coming to an end. It's been very nice. You know the pastime, Mother Yashoda, Krishna was naughty, we mentioned. Mother Yashoda wanted to discipline him, to correct him, to help him to become a better person, and in that way become a happier person. Yeah, not just for the sake of being a disciplinarian or something, but actually out of affection to help her son, like for his, as he grew up, to become a better, more successful and happier person. So she wanted to tie him, but of course famously the rope was 2 fingers too short. And she got more rope, but still it was always 2 fingers too short. And she didn't really stop to think, it was one thing when she had, I don't know, a couple of meters and it couldn't get around, although, he's only a little boy, but still. It's one thing if it's 2 fingers too short. It's another thing if it's like 10 meters long and it's 2 fingers too short to get around one time, around the stomach of just a little child. And, what to speak of 10 meters if you've got a kilometer of rope and it will not go around one time, it's 2 fingers too short. Well, you've got a real problem there. But she never stopped to think, wait a minute, this is not possible. There's something is just really not right here. She just kept adding rope and adding rope. In her mood of, you could say, innocent concern. But as she was doing that, that mood of concern increased and increased and increased, and eventually just overflowed and inundated Krishna. And then he couldn't stop the rope being long enough. Even if it had been, a couple of few centimeters, it would have been long enough. Yeah. Because he was tied not exactly by the ropes, but the ropes were a manifestation of her love. Yes, so one of our greater acharyas, Sridhar Swami, he talks about the rope and the 2 fingers. And the 1 finger represents, he says, the special effort of the devotee to please the Lord, which is ultimately what she was trying to do. She was trying to please him in the long run by training him now. So she's actually trying to please him. So 1 finger represents that, and the other finger represents the Lord's mercy, his reciprocation. So, yeah, eventually, even, eventually it was not 2 fingers too short. Eventually it was okay. So our great Acharya Sridhar Swami, he says like that, the 2 fingers, they represent these 2 things. So, but the thing is this, if you look at your 2 fingers, these 2, right? Look at my 2 and look at your 2. This is my devotee's effort finger, you see? You get it? And this is my Krishna's mercy finger, you see? The longer one. You get it? You see, which finger is longer? It's the Krishna's mercy finger. Not that you can just do away with your effort finger, but still, like it or not, Krishna's mercy is more substantial. And I know my one, it's maybe longer than average, I don't know. But still, no less, but still, yeah, yes, you get it. Right. So, in other words, the main thing, you got to make the effort. But still, the main thing is Krishna's mercy. Yeah, and you can never do away with either, and just try and do with one of the two. Like Arjuna, at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, one way you can sort of look at the situation is that Arjuna, he told Krishna, I will not fight. And he sat down in the back of the chariot and he cried, actually. And he was addressing Krishna by different names, which refer to Krishna, different aspects of Krishna's nature, his personality. And right at the end of his sort of complaining, I don't want to fight for this reason and that reason and the other reason, and then he sat down and that was it. So I'm not going to fight. He addresses Krishna as Janardana. And Janardana, Jana means the people. And Ardana, at least one translation of Ardana, is killer. Killer. Jana Ardana. You are the killer of the people. Of course, everyone is going to be killed by time in due course, even the young ones like you. Yeah. Later, but and you too. Yeah. Sorry. Oops. He's trying to hide from it. So, yeah. Anyway, but Krishna says, Kalos me, I am time. Kalaha asmi, I am time. So time is directly, indirectly going to kill not just us, but all living entities. So the explanation for his use of that term at the end, more or less, of his saying how he's not going to fight, not going to fight, not going to fight, and then he's just completely not going to fight, is he's saying that you want this battle to take place, you want these people killed, you do it. And I will take rest. And wake me up when you've finished the job. So that's like, trying to do away with the your effort finger and just say, yeah, Krishna's mercy. We will sleep and see what Krishna arranges. Rather than, one way Prabhupada put it, very nice, is that we should make such an effort to please Krishna, our best effort, as if it depends on us. But we should pray to Krishna and surrender to Krishna as if it all just depends on him. You get the idea? That it might sound like a contradiction, but it's not. Because making your best effort means to please him in a mood of service, not like for prominence or fame or something of that sort, or personal profit or aggrandizement. Yeah, so we should try hard, work hard, as if it depends on us. But pray to Krishna, take shelter of him as if it just completely depends on him. So, yeah, and this pastime of Mother Yashoda tying Krishna and everything that led up to it, and those efforts she made, they're really such an amazing example for us as aspiring devotees. Yeah, it's such an important example for us, and valuable lesson for us, that we observe the occasion for the whole month. Normally, if we just had Prabhupada's disappearance day, a couple of days before we had Govardhan Puja, normally we celebrate them for a day, occasionally for a few days, but more often than not it's just on the day that we celebrate even the appearance, the birth of Lord Krishna, or the birth of Radharani, or Srila Prabhupada's appearance, all these extremely important days. They're celebrated generally for just a day. But this we celebrate for a month. And at least one part of the reasoning behind it, at least one part, is that the lesson is of such importance and relevance, extreme relevance to all of us as aspiring and, trying to become devotees, like really qualified devotees. We can learn so much from it because we are in the position, you could say in principle, of Mother Yashoda, the devotee trying to please and serve in the best way, most positive way, trying to serve and please the Lord. So therefore, every day we're offering lamps and singing the song like that. Yeah, so that's something to consider. Another little thing, I don't think I mentioned it. I know we had a little program shortly, just before I went over to India, and we mentioned some things about Kartik, but did I mention about, we during the kirtans, during the month of Kartik, we more often than not sing Jaya Radha Damada. Radha Damada, Radha Damada, Radhe. And we generally don't sing Jai Yashoda Damada, Yashoda Damada, Yashoda or something. In fact, I don't think we do that. But actually the pastime is Yashoda and Damada and Krishna. The pastime is not actually Radharani and Krishna, but we sing Jaya Radha Damada. So there is actually a story behind that, which is just a very short story, is that on one of the days during the month, Lord Krishna had made he and Radharani had fixed a time in one evening that they would somehow get out of their houses and get away and meet together. Yes, but what happened was that Purnamasi, who is Yoga Maya in Vrindavan and the presiding deity of the entire spiritual energy, in other words, she is a very, very big person. She arrived at Krishna's house, Mother Yashoda's house, and said, "Right, I want to do a special festival this evening in your house." And she's so important and so respected, including by Krishna. She is just such a dominant figure that Krishna felt he couldn't escape. So he didn't. He stayed. And he missed the appointment with Radharani. Yeah. So then when it finished later on, sometime later at night, Krishna ran over to Radharani's house really late. And there was Radharani, and she was in a mood of transcendental anger. Transcendental, not like the anger that, I shouldn't say, but that, sometimes a husband gets into if the wife doesn't make butter paneer for him for the evening. Is that possible? Not really. Or the wife gets angry with the husband if he's late and he doesn't phone her and say, these things happen. So these things happen, don't they? I heard they happen. I heard quite a few times. So, yeah, not that sort of anger, but a mood of transcendental anger. And she took her like a rope. She was wearing a golden rope around her waist and tied Krishna with that. And Krishna, while he was tied, while he's being tied, he wanted to explain, but he couldn't because she was in her mood. It's a special type of ecstasy. It's called mana. Mana means anger, but it's a specific form of loving ecstasy. So anyway, so he wanted to explain, but he couldn't. But now he's tied. And now he could explain, so he explained what had happened. Purnamasi had come, and she is worshipable by everyone, by Radharani also. And when Radharani heard that, she understood, you were not able to come actually. You weren't just being irresponsible, an irresponsible man. Not like that. You were, obliged to such a degree. You could do nothing. So she untied him. Yeah. And then Krishna thanked her and said, I will become famous by this name of Damodar. It'll become one of my own favorite names, and one of the favorite names devotees like to address me by. And that's the story. It's actually told by Srila Jiva Goswami. That's the story of Radha Damodar. Yeah. Although we're generally devotees are not so familiar with that. So anyway, that's there. And now we're coming to the last few hours of the month, and we are going to be offering lamps, and we'll all have the opportunity to offer some last for this year, some last prayers for mercy, and better late than never. Yeah, some special prayer for mercy. And then tomorrow, the month of Katyayani begins. And I thought actually I could read a couple, 2 or 3 verses it might be, from the beginning of the 22nd chapter of the 10th canto, which is titled Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. And, if we won't really get into it in depth right now, but it's one of these pastimes which is just, if you're not a devotee and if you're not educated in these things, you could easily think that, oh, this is very strange or even worse. But actually it's very deep. Yeah, and it culminates on the last day of this coming lunar month. So, okay, let's just read a few verses and say a couple of words. So yes, 10th Canto, chapter 22, verse 1. Shishukaravacha hemante pratame masi nandavraja kumarika cheru havishyam bunjana kachayan yarchana vratam. Shukadev Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried girls of Gokula observed the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani. For the entire month, they ate only unspiced khichdi. Yeah, and it's the next lunar month, and Prabhupada makes the point, I mean not Prabhupada, but our commentators, that it runs from approximately the middle of November to the middle of December, so it's the next lunar month. Yeah. Marga Shersha, the month of Marg. Marga Shersha. Yeah. So, yes, they ate, as the verse says, unspiced khichdi. And it says, boil mung dal and rice, boiled together without any spices or turmeric. Yeah. And as I understand, even without salt, it's just literally boiled rice and dal together, and that's what it is. Yeah. And you know, I mean, also it's said further, not right here, but elsewhere, that the way they do it is that they eat once a day. They're boiled rice and dal, you know, khichdi, but with no salt, no spices, no veggies, no, just boiled rice and dal, is then thrown or placed on the floor, and they put their hands behind their backs and hold their hands behind their backs, sit down, lean forward and eat with their mouths as much as they can eat without sitting up. Soon as you sit up, that's it for today. Come back tomorrow and do the same program. And it's all for the worship, for the pleasure of Katyayani. You know, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used to do this. And during Kartik, he would do it. And if you go to the Chaitanya Mat where he used to stay, in one of the other buildings sort of around the corner, they have the piece of rock, like it's granite, I think, something like that he used to do this from. Yeah, they would put it on that piece of rock, put it down, and he would do that. And they keep it there in this sort of like little bit of a museum type of place. And it's all done, it's all done, let's see here. This is actually verse 4 now, each of the young unmarried girls performed her worship while chanting the following mantra. O Goddess Katyayani, O great potency of the Lord, O possessor of great mystic power and mighty controller of all, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj, that's Krishna, please make the son of Nanda Maharaj my husband. I offer my obeisances unto you. So this is the whole idea. Of course, traditionally, it's done just by young girls who want a good husband. They particularly wanted Krishna as a husband. So they performed that particular vow. Thus, for an entire month, the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, Katyayani, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the thought, may the son of King Nanda become my husband. Yeah. So anyway, there's a whole program they did, but that was a very important part of it, as mentioned here in the Bhagavatam. So, joking aside, I mean, you'll laugh when I say this, but joking aside, any of the young ladies who would like a nice Krishna-conscious husband, you can do something like that. I told you you'd laugh, but I'm serious. I'm completely serious. I'm serious. Yeah. Because, this is sort of by the way, but sometimes it happens that some lady ends up with the wrong husband. These things also happen, and vice versa too. So, yeah, and that can be a real problem. It can be a terrible problem, actually. Yes. So, they did this. There's a whole program, like I said, a whole program they did, along with this special diet type of thing, once a day for the month, and all for the purpose of getting Krishna as their husband. And in the end, on the last day, right in the late afternoon as they were concluding the whole thing, Krishna came and stole their clothes, which they had all put on the bank of the river. And, even to this day, in many places at least, there's a lady's part of the river and a men's part. And, that's it. So it was like that at that time, but Krishna came and stole their clothes. And they came out and there were no clothes. Anyway, later on we can talk more about it, but, I think you get the basic idea that Krishna forced them to appear before him undressed, which for any decent girl, even today for that matter, but particularly in those days, was just like, it would be worthy of committing suicide about, practically. Yeah. It was like very serious type of, reflection on the character of the girl. So, but Krishna forced them to do that, which means taking the position of the wife, because the wife can only appear undressed before the husband, not even the father. Yeah. So they did that. And just like Mother Yashoda, in her motherly way, did this whole thing, and we focus on it for a month. So the gopis, in their way, they did this whole thing, culminating in complete surrender, just giving up everything, even their reputations, just for the pleasure of Krishna. And as a result, Krishna effectively accepted them as his wives. Effectively he did. And they understood it. So when he gave them the clothes back, then, they dressed and they went away. And when they went away, they were not talking together like, we're gonna get him. When he's swimming in the river one day, we'll get him good. No, they went away singing the glories of Krishna because they understood what was the thought process behind it and what it meant. Yeah, and how it meant that Krishna had accepted their prayers, wholeheartedly. I mean, it's deep, and you've got to have a sort of deep enough understanding to get it. Otherwise, you may think it's something strange. But Krishna sometimes, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the author says some kind of very, like way out sort of thing about Lord Chaitanya, which people who don't know about these things will think, what is this? And in his purport, or in one of the verses, he says, I'm glad that this type of person will not understand this. I'm happy that this sort of... Actually, you know what he says? Maybe you should fasten your seatbelts. But he says, I'm really happy that pig-like non-devotees will not understand this. Hare Krishna. But devotees have feelings too, yeah. So, from one extraordinary pastime, such an extraordinary and relevant pastime, to another extraordinary, super extraordinary, but in principle very relevant pastime. This is Krishna consciousness. This is Krishna consciousness is just full of it. Every day, there's so many lessons. If we're attentive and thoughtful, and if we want to learn, every day we'll find lessons, like really important lessons which will help form and develop our character positively in Krishna consciousness. So there we go, devotees. Our friends in Iskcon have said the power should have gone off about 2 minutes ago. So who knows what's...
7 minutes late, Maharaj, normally.
Are they? You know what I thought? Well, actually, Yamaraj Prabhu said, anyway, is it would be very atmospheric if all the lights went out and there was just the candles. It would be very atmospheric. Anyway, one way or the other, we'll do the Damodarastakam, is it? No? Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Shri Shri Radha Damodar ki, Shri Shri Yashoda Damodar ki, Shri Katyayani Vrata ki. Go Premanande.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Where is the power? We'll cut in about 7 minutes time, 6 minutes time, so just bear with us. But firstly, there's a few announcements we need to make. Obviously, a festival of this nature is not an easy task, so we have a few devotees that we would like to thank. Firstly, we'd like to thank Maharaj for the wonderful class, and for those of you who might have missed it because you couldn't make it into the temple room, we have shared the streaming link. So if you've missed something in the lecture, you can always go back home and watch it and remind yourself of the wonderful nectar that we have received today. We'd like to thank you all devotees for coming through today in the big numbers. We have programs in, I think it is in Lenasia and in Sandton today, so there's a lot of devotees from the other yatras, from Mudran